Beneath the cold stone walls of the Tower of London is a place where silence was once shattered by the sound of final footsteps. A place that became notorious as one of England's most feared execution sites. How did this royal fortress become a stage for death? Constructed by William the Conqueror in the 11th century, the tower originally symbolized power and fear. It served many roles: royal palace, treasury, armory, and prison. By the late medieval period, however, it had darkened. Political prisoners, often nobles connected to royalty, were brought here not just to be detained, but to face death under the watchful eye of the crown. Executions inside the tower were rare and reserved for high-status individuals whose deaths were too sensitive or symbolic to be carried out before the common crowds at Tower Hill. These secret executions mainly happened on Tower Green, a private area where the monarchy controlled both the method and the message of the execution. Women, especially noblewomen, accused of crimes such as treason or adultery, faced a unique kind of fear, executed quietly, yet not without terror, as their deaths were meant to erase their power, history, and faith. The tragic end of Lady Jane Grey, Lady Jane, known as the 9 Days Queen. At only 16, Jane was an unwilling pawn caught in political and religious turmoil. After King Edward VI's death in 1553, Protestant nobles tried to block Catholic Mary Tudor's succession by naming Jane, Edward's Protestant cousin, as queen. Though intelligent and devout, Jane reluctantly accepted the crown under pressure from her family and powerful nobles. Her short reign ended when Mary claimed the throne with popular support. Jane was imprisoned in the Tower and initially spared execution. But however, when Thomas Wyatt's rebellion in 1554 aimed to restore Jane, she became a threat. On February 12, 1554, dressed in black and carrying a prayer book, she was taken to Tower Green. As she faced death, she spoke calmly, acknowledging her sentence while protesting her innocence regarding any conspiracy against the Queen. Blindfolded and trembling, she struggled to find the execution block, crying out, "What shall I do? Where is it?" Before the fatal blow ended England's youngest monarch. Lady Jane Grey died not for her crimes, but for the ambitions of others and the clash of dynasties. Margaret Pole's terrible end. Margaret Pole's death meant more than the fall of a royal woman. It exposed how swiftly innocence could be destroyed by the Tower's relentless justice. The tragic fate of Margaret Pole, Countess of Salisbury, remains one of the most harrowing stories from the Tower of London. Born into royalty, Margaret saw dynasties rise and fall and outlived many kings. Yet her end was one of the most brutal ever recorded at the Tower. As the daughter of George, Duke of Clarence, brother to Edward IV, she belonged to the dwindling Plantagenet line, a family once reigning England. Though she survived the Wars of the Roses and pledged loyalty to the Tudors, her royal blood soon made her dangerous in Henry VIII's eyes. Once favored, appointed governess to Princess Mary, and granted lands, her fortunes flipped as Henry severed ties with the Catholic Church in the 1530s and cracked down on dissenters. Her son, Reginald, a cardinal in Rome, openly condemned Henry as a tyrant, threatening his reign. Though Margaret was not involved, but Henry's paranoia led to her arrest in 1538 without trial and imprisonment in the Tower. On May 27, 1541, at nearly 70, Margaret was taken to Tower Green. Unlike most noblewomen's executions, hers was chaotic and cruel. No formal charges or trial preceded her death. Witnesses report Margaret refused to lay her head down, protesting her innocence until the end. According to Edward Hall, the inexperienced executioner missed repeatedly, hacking grievously before finally killing her. Her grave at St. Peter ad Vincula Chapel remains modest, her memory nearly lost to time. Her execution was not justice, but a brutal warning. Anne Askew's execution, a tortured heretic burned alive. Born into gentility and blessed with scholarship, Anne's unwavering Protestant faith sealed her fate in a kingdom divided by religious conflict. She was born in 1521 to a Lincolnshire family. Anne was well educated and deeply committed to reading and interpreting the Bible, a privilege denied to women by the Church. She adopted Protestant beliefs during a turbulent period in England's religious history. Despite being forced into a Catholic marriage, she resisted conformity, eventually leaving her spouse to preach in London. This boldness, especially from a noblewoman, attracted attention. In 1545, she was arrested for distributing forbidden Protestant writings, but released after questioning. However, by 1546, she was again detained, this time under the watch of Thomas Wriothesley and Sir Richard Rich, agents of Henry VIII's conservative faction. They took her to the Tower of London, seeking names of other reformers. Anne endured torture on the rack, a severe punishment never before inflicted on a woman of her status, leaving her permanently unable to stand or walk. John Bale, a contemporary, noted her agony. Carried in a chair on July 16, 1546, she faced execution at Smithfield, tied to a stake with gunpowder fastened to hasten her death. Anne died for her commitment to Scripture, not rebellion, leaving a written record of her interrogations, making her one of the earliest female English authors. Katherine Howard's A Teenage Bride, beheaded for treachery. Katherine Howard, Henry VIII's teenage fifth wife, entered the Tower not as queen, but as a condemned traitor for adultery. A cousin of Anne Boleyn and raised in the Norfolk household, Katherine lacked formal education or guidance. By 1540, she caught the attention of the ailing Henry VIII, marrying him soon after his annulment from Anne of Cleves. Known as the Rose Without a Thorn, Catherine's past indiscretions and alleged resumed relationship with courtier Thomas Culpeper led to her arrest in November 1541 and imprisonment. She was never tried formally, but confessed to past faults while denying adultery during her queenship. On February 13, 1542, she was executed at Tower Green, reputedly facing death with sorrow and dignity. Rumors of last words declaring preference for Culpeper's wife over Queen persist, but are likely apocryphal. She was buried near Anne Boleyn at St. Peter ad Vincula Chapel. The executions of Jane Grey, Margaret Pole, Anne Askew, and Katherine Howard reveal a monarchy that sacrificed youth, innocence, and faith to maintain power and order. These women's deaths shaped English history and exposed the harsh realities of unchecked authority. They illustrate how power harshly treats the powerless, often at the expense of justice and conscience. Anne Askew's final words capture this spirit. I would rather read 5 lines of the Bible than hear 5 masses in the church.